Emma walked through the quiet streets of Boston in the late afternoon, her hands wrapped tightly around a cup of coffee. The city had its usual hum-distant horns, the chatter of pedestrians, and the occasional bark of a dog, but it felt almost like a background soundtrack to her thoughts rather than the city's life itself. She took in the fading sunlight reflecting off the glass buildings, noticing the way the orange and pink hues softened the harsh lines of the streets. It was beautiful, almost poetic, but she felt a strange emptiness inside. She had lived in Boston for nearly 6 years now, working as a graphic designer, and had built a routine that many people would envy. She had a small but comfortable apartment, friends she could trust, and a career that allowed her creativity to bloom. Yet, despite all of this, she felt like she was standing still while life moved forward around her. She had spent the morning at work, completing project after project with precision and care, but it didn't bring the satisfaction it once did. The applause from clients or the approval of her managers felt hollow. She wondered if she had lost the sense of wonder she once carried, the curiosity that made life exciting when she was younger. Lately, her days had blended together, each one predictable and quiet, leaving her with a yearning she couldn't name. She wanted something more, something that would make her feel alive again, something that would teach her in a way her routines never could. The thought of new experiences had been lingering in her mind for weeks. She had seen friends take spontaneous trips, learn new skills, and meet people who would change their lives in unexpected ways. She often scrolled through social media late at night, looking at pictures of strangers traveling, hiking, attending workshops, and laughing with people they had just met. Some of the images made her smile. Others made her ache with a quiet longing. She imagined herself stepping into one of those moments, but fear always held her back. What if she went somewhere alone and felt awkward? What if she didn't connect with anyone? What if it was a mistake? One evening, she found herself scrolling through a photography forum online, hoping for inspiration. She had always loved photography, a hobby she had pursued in high school and college, but work and responsibilities had pushed it aside. On the forum, someone had posted about a weekend photography workshop in Vermont. It promised 2 days of nature walks, creative exercises, and the chance to meet people who were as passionate about photography as she was. The description painted vivid pictures of snowy trails, golden sunsets, and the quiet calm of a cabin tucked into the woods. Emma's heart fluttered as she read. For the first time in months, she felt a spark of excitement. This was more than a workshop. It was a chance to step outside her comfort zone, to experience life in a way she hadn't dared to in years. She couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, she tossed and turned in her bed, imagining what it would be like to leave her routine behind, even for just a weekend. She pictured herself walking through the snow, camera in hand, surrounded by strangers who could become friends. She imagined moments of laughter, the thrill of learning something new, and perhaps even unexpected connections that could leave a lasting impression. But alongside the excitement, doubt crept in. She wondered if she was being foolish, if it was silly to take a small leap into something unfamiliar. Yet there was a voice inside her, soft but persistent, telling her that life required risk, that she couldn't grow without trying. The next morning, Emma met her best friend Claire for breakfast at a small cafe near the river. The place was warm, filled with the aroma of fresh pastries and coffee. Claire noticed the restless energy in Emma's eyes before she said anything. "You're thinking about something?" Claire said knowingly, sipping her latte. Emma hesitated. "I saw this photography workshop in Vermont. Sounds amazing, but I don't know if I should go." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Why not? It sounds like exactly the kind of thing you need." Emma shrugged, trying to downplay her own longing. "I guess I'm just scared. What if it's awkward? What if I don't fit in? Or what if it's a waste of time?" Claire smiled gently and reached across the table to touch Emma's hand. "Emma, life doesn't wait for perfect timing. You won't always feel ready. Sometimes the best experiences come when we take a chance, even if it scares us. You need this. even if you don't know it yet." Her words stayed with Emma as she walked back to her apartment. She thought about all the times she had avoided risk, choosing comfort over growth, predictability over adventure. She realized that each time she had stayed in her safe bubble, she had missed opportunities to learn, to connect, and to truly feel alive. For years, she had dreamed of experiences like this workshop, yet she had always found reasons not to go. This time, however, something felt different. The longing inside her was too strong to ignore. Emma spent the next few days researching the workshop, looking at the location, the schedule, and the instructors. She imagined herself walking through the snowy trails, camera in hand, capturing moments that she had only dreamed about. She thought about meeting people who shared her interests, the kind of conversations that went beyond small talk. The laughter that came naturally when you connected with someone who truly understood you. Each thought made her heart beat faster, the nervous excitement mixing with anticipation. She also imagined the possibility of meeting someone special. It was a thought she hadn't allowed herself in years, and it made her cheeks warm. She pictured a person with kind eyes, someone whose presence felt comforting and exciting at the same time. Perhaps it was naive, but she allowed herself the fantasy because it made the decision to go feel more urgent, more necessary. Life was offering her a chance, not just to learn a new skill, but to rediscover connection and emotion she had long buried. By the end of the week, Emma had made up her mind. She would go to Vermont. She would step into the unknown, not recklessly, but with intention. She would embrace the workshop as a way to grow, to explore, and to feel again. The decision brought a wave of relief and exhilaration she hadn't realized she had been missing. It was as if a weight had lifted from her shoulders, replaced by a fluttering hope she hadn't felt in years. On the morning of her departure, Emma packed her bag carefully, including her camera, notebooks, and warm clothes. Each item she placed in her bag felt symbolic of preparation, not just for the workshop, but for the experience of stepping into life with open arms. She checked her route to the train station, reviewed the itinerary, and allowed herself a small, excited smile. She was nervous, of course, but it was a good kind of nervous, the kind that made her pulse quicken and her thoughts sharper. As she walked to the station, the city felt different somehow. The usual sights, buildings, streets, people seemed more vivid, more alive. She noticed a child chasing a pigeon in the park, a street musician playing a soft tune, the sunlight catching the edges of the river in a way that made it sparkle like liquid gold. She realized that this excitement she felt wasn't just about the workshop itself, was about taking a step toward life, toward growth, and toward rediscovering the joy she had been missing. The train ride to Vermont was quiet, the rhythmic sound of wheels on tracks blending with the occasional murmur of passengers. Emma pressed her forehead to the cold glass, watching the city slowly fade into countryside, her thoughts drifting ahead to what awaited her. She imagined the snowy trails, the cozy cabin, the laughter of people she hadn't met yet. And yes, the possibility of meeting someone who could touch her life in unexpected ways. She smiled softly, feeling a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. Her heart beating a little faster with every mile. She thought about the lessons life had been trying to teach her for years, the importance of stepping out of comfort, of embracing change, of allowing herself to experience the full spectrum of emotions. For too long, she had played it safe, thinking that stability was the same as happiness. Now she realized that happiness required risk, required courage, required action. And in that moment, as the train carried her toward the mountains, Emma felt that she was finally ready to listen. The sun began to dip behind the hills, casting long shadows across the fields. The air outside was crisp and cold, hinting at the snowy weekend to come. Emma wrapped her scarf tighter, a quiet thrill running through her. She thought about how this small leap, the decision to attend a workshop, was already transforming her perspective. She felt more alive than she had in months, maybe even years. It was as if a door had opened inside her heart. and she was stepping into a world that had been waiting for her all along. As evening fell, the train curved along a river, reflecting the fiery glow of the sunset. Emma watched, mesmerized, feeling a deep sense of possibility. She realized that life didn't always hand you grand adventures. Sometimes it offered small, meaningful steps that could change everything. She had taken one such step, and she didn't know what awaited her at the end of the journey, but she felt ready. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt hope. She felt excitement. She felt this subtle, growing sense that life was not something to be endured, but something to be experienced fully, bravely, and openly. And in that hope she smiled, imagining the weekend ahead, the lessons she would learn, and the connections she might make. The cabin nestled in the woods looked even more charming in the soft light of morning. Snow clung to the branches of the tall pines, and the air was crisp, carrying a quiet freshness that made Emma's lungs fill with a thrilling chill. She zipped up her coat, adjusted her scarf, and stepped outside, her camera bag slung over her shoulder. The weekend workshop was about to begin, and Emma felt a flutter of nervous excitement. She wasn't just here for photography. She was here to live, to experience, to step into the unknown in a way she hadn't for years. As she approached the main cabin, she noticed people gathered in small groups, laughing and chatting as they sipped coffee or adjusted their cameras. Some were clearly beginners, shyly introducing themselves, while others moved with a quiet confidence, their cameras dangling from their necks as if they had been born to capture the world. Emma hesitated for a moment, unsure where to start, until a soft voice beside her asked, "Is this seat taken?" She turned and met hazel eyes that immediately drew her attention. The man standing there had an easy, natural smile that didn't demand admiration but made it impossible to look away. "I'm Alex," he said, extending a hand. "Emma," she replied, shaking it, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. There was something calming in his presence, a gentle steadiness that made her feel at ease, even as her nerves buzzed with anticipation. The workshop began with a brief orientation, the instructor outlining the schedule and explaining the exercises. Emma found herself paired with Alex for several activities, including a nature walk designed to encourage observation and creativity. As they walked together along snow-covered trails, the world seemed to slow, each step punctuated by the crunch of snow underfoot and the occasional bird call from the trees. They spoke about photography techniques at first, discussing lighting, composition, and the way snow could reflect or soften light in unexpected ways. Emma found herself genuinely engaged, enjoying the way his voice carried gentle humor and thoughtful insight. By the second hour, their conversation shifted to more personal topics. Alex asked about her life in Boston, and Emma found herself sharing details she rarely discussed: her work, her love of art, and the restlessness that had led her here. He listened attentively, nodding and occasionally sharing his own experiences. She discovered that he was a writer who had taken a break from the city to focus on creativity, traveling to workshops like this one to find inspiration. His stories were relatable and honest, touching on moments of doubt and personal growth that mirrored her own struggles. As the day progressed, Emma noticed that time passed differently in Alex's company. Laughter came easily, and silence was comfortable rather than awkward. During a break, they huddled near a small fire pit outside, sipping hot chocolate and watching the snow fall softly around them. Their hands brushed accidentally while reaching for mugs, sending a spark of unexpected warmth through Emma's fingers. She smiled to herself, surprised at how quickly she felt drawn to someone she had just met. The workshop continued with practical exercises, and Emma focused on capturing the beauty around her, the way light filtered through snow-laden branches, the patterns etched in frost on windows, and the quiet elegance of the woods. Alex often walked beside her, offering tips or pointing out details she might have missed. There was a natural rhythm between them, an unspoken understanding that made every shared observation feel meaningful. She realized that this connection wasn't just about attraction, it was about the ease of companionship, the comfort of being understood without words, and the excitement of exploring something new together. During lunch, they joined a small group in the cabin's dining area. Conversations flowed freely, but Emma found herself continually drawn back to Alex's presence. He listened intently, offered thoughtful comments, and occasionally looked at her in a way that made her heart flutter. They shared stories of past travels, favorite books, and moments of personal growth, and Emma was struck by how much she could relate to him. It wasn't just attraction, it was resonance. A meeting of minds and hearts that felt rare and significant. After lunch, instructor led them on a photography challenge, a scavenger hunt to capture specific elements of the environment creatively. Emma and Alex worked together, laughing as they compared shots and suggested angles to each other. At one point, Alex suggested a particular perspective near a frozen stream, and when Emma followed his lead, the photo came out perfectly. She felt a quiet thrill, realizing that collaboration could be as rewarding as personal achievement. Their teamwork was effortless, their camaraderie growing stronger with every shared success. As evening approached, the group returned to the cabin. Emma hung her coat and camera by the door, her heart still light with anticipation. The workshop had been challenging and exciting. But what lingered most was her connection with Alex. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt such a comfortable, thrilling companionship with someone she barely knew. Dinner was followed by a casual gathering near the fireplace where participants shared photos and discussed their experiences. Alex sat beside her, showing her images he had captured, and she shared her own. They discussed techniques, lighting, and composition. But beneath the conversation was a quiet intimacy, a growing awareness that they enjoyed each other's company far more than they expected. Emma noticed the way his eyes met hers when he smiled, the subtle gestures that made her pulse quicken, and the warmth that spread through her whenever he spoke directly to her. Later, after the group had dispersed to their rooms, Emma stepped outside for a moment of solitude. The snow fell silently, the moon casting a soft glow over the landscape. She breathed deeply, feeling the cold air invigorate her, and reflected on the day. She had expected a workshop focused solely on photography, but what she experienced was far richer connection, laughter, creativity, and the thrill of stepping into the unknown. She realized that sometimes the most meaningful experiences came not from planned lessons, but from spontaneous human connections. Alex appeared beside her, as if sensing her thoughts. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" he said softly, his gaze scanning the snowy trees. "Yes," Emma replied, smiling. "Feels alive in a way." He nodded, and for a moment they stood in comfortable silence, letting the quiet of the woods and the falling snow envelop them. Then he said, "I'm glad you decided to come here. Life has a way of giving us moments we don't expect, and sometimes the best ones come from taking a chance." Emma's heart lifted. "I didn't know I needed this until now." The next morning, they set out early to catch the sunrise over the mountains. The world was painted in shades of gold and pink, and Emma felt her breath catch at the beauty of it. Alex walked beside her, and their cameras clicked in sync, capturing fleeting moments of light and shadow. They laughed when snow fell unexpectedly from trees, and she felt a genuine sense of joy she hadn't experienced in years. Throughout the day, their conversations deepened. They shared childhood memories, past heartbreaks, and quiet dreams for the future. Emma felt a subtle vulnerability opening within her, a willingness to share thoughts she usually kept private. Alex responded with honesty and warmth, creating a safe space where her feelings could breathe. It was clear that this weekend wasn't just teaching photography, was teaching her about trust, connection, and the thrill of letting someone in. By the evening, the group gathered for a final activity, a reflective exercise to capture a photo representing personal growth. Emma wandered to a quiet spot by the edge of a frozen pond, the trees reflected in the icy surface. She felt the moment deeply, thinking about the journey that had led her here, The fear she had overcome, the courage to leave her comfort zone, and the unexpected companionship she had found. Alex appeared beside her, looking at her thoughtful expression. "You're really good at this," he said softly. "Not just the photos, but seeing the world." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the firelight behind. Thank you," she replied. "I think I'm learning too. Pay attention in a way I didn't before." He nodded, understanding her without further words. The quiet between them was comfortable, filled with meaning and unspoken possibilities. Emma realized that she had come here seeking new experiences, and what she found was far more profound than she anticipated. It wasn't just about photography or scenic beauty. It was about connection, openness, and the subtle spark of attraction that made her heart race. The weekend passed quickly. On the final morning, they packed their belongings, exchanging warm goodbyes with fellow participants. Emma felt a bittersweet pang. She had grown to love the calm beauty of the workshop and the people she had met. But especially Alex, and Alex stood by the cabin, preparing to part ways. There was a pause. A quiet acknowledgement of the bond that had formed. "Maybe this doesn't have to end here," Alex said finally, his eyes meeting hers with a sincerity that made her chest tighten. "Life has a way of giving second chances, if we're brave enough to take them." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with hope. "I think I'm ready," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the soft crunch of snow beneath their boots.